If we could get together and take a seat, that would be great. There's still a few people that might come. It may be difficult to find some parking. Some parking is difficult in the Northwest on a Saturday. We will also have time to mingle again afterwards
And sell books.
and sell books.
And
Thank
sign
you.
books.
Sign books.
Sign books. Sell books and sign books. And have more food and have more wine. Just a few organizational things. The bathrooms are over here and there's another one over there. And, I think we're going to start by calling Max, who's the actual publisher, who's my dear friend and also publisher. And so he's online on Skype. He unfortunately wasn't able to come tonight. He's in Florence, Oregon, and but we might be able to.
You want me to call him?
Yeah, let's call him.
Okay.
See if it goes. Hello, hello. Something is answering.
Look here, not everyone knows who Mox is, and so it doesn't seem very relevant to all the people
I will.
buying.
He might.
Tell him just to run there.
Hello.
You wouldn't be able to do it.
We want to do some sound check. There's no sound yet. Do you? Oh, I don't know if you hear us. We're doing a sound check.
Okay.
Do you hear us, Max? Yes.
We're turning you up.
So big.
We are what?
Just wave in the
You are so big. You are so big on my screen.
Hi.
Hey, hi. Great to see everybody. Fun to be there.
Thanks.
Pusha, how are you?
Let's wave. There's a few people. Yes. Let's show
Long live!
Everyone's ready.
That's powerful.
That's powerful.
That's powerful. Everybody is moving faster than light.
You said it.
Well, anyhow.
I was just sorry. Just no, not everybody knows. I was asked to say who you are, so I just introduced you by saying you're a dear friend. We've known each other for 30 years. Is that possible? Yeah, kind of 30 years.
That's
And
quite 2 years.
what? It's quite a few.
2 years.
Quite a few years. And also, you're a teacher here. You're one of the founding people of process work.
Yay.
Yay! And also, my publisher, which it was a great experience.
Yay.
Yay!
Also, we found out about 10 years ago.
Yes.
We are both, we are both Swiss trying to get out of it.
That's true.
About 10 years ago, my father had tuberculosis, and about 10 years ago, we found out that my father was in a tuberculosis hospital. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes.
Masha, you don't look like you can hear me.
I hear you just fine. You look a little far away. I hear you great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we found out that my father, who had tuberculosis, was a patient during the time when Pierre's grandfather was running that hospital.
Wow.
So my father knew Pierre's grandfather. We found out about 10 years ago.
That's true. That's true.
Strange.
Isn't that strange? That's
Wow.
great.
Now listen, I don't want to take your time because I know you guys have other things to do. Looking at my sheet here, and Pierre is a great therapist. Thank you for writing that book, Pierre. That was really great. You're not only a great therapist and a great organizational leader, contributor, and supervisor, and a wonderful teacher, but you are also have contributed an amazing thing to Symptom Work with your book. Thank you. It's very cool. As some of you know, we have this little publishing initiative called the Deep Democracy Exchange. And the first book we republished was Arnie's first book, which was The Dream Body. And The Dream Body, we're very, very, very excited to republish because it's a brand new book. Still, it's, as far as I know, the only model out there that not only says there are different alternative ways of looking at body symptoms and illness, but that actually says that the illness itself has an elixir, a remedy to heal the person from a larger type of not so well-being. So that's still brand new, and that's still the only one. Elixir, I looked it up, comes from an Arabic word, and it means a recipe. So the dream body concept that a symptom is actually a recipe for a different lifestyle and the deepening of yourself. It's still brand new. And Pierre's book, in case you haven't read it yet, is so exciting because he sort of like adds a special flavor there by saying not only is the symptom an elixir, but mainstream medicine with its own ideas is actually at times slightly poisonous because it has a tendency to support people in marginalizing their everyday body experiences, and not by going deeper into them. They just feel bad about the fact that they have them through the whole pathologizing process. And you called it a nocebo. You're using the term nocebo, Pierre. I think that is a really fantastic thing. The book actually has much more stuff in it, and great case description, goes in depth into it, but I just wanted to add that.
Woohoo!
Thank you so much.
That was a good pitch.
Listen,
Yeah.
I wish that I could be there. It looks so cozy, and I wish I could give you all a hug and a kiss because you all look adorable. Now we have Dawn, it's great to see you and your great smile. Dawn also has written a great book, by the way, which unfortunately can't. I wish you would have published it, but you can't do everything. Have a great night and enjoy yourself and dance and swing and party. And thank you, Pierre, for doing that. That was really fun.
Thank you, Max. Thank you. Have a good evening, and thank you for taking the time to join us. Bye. Bye. Thanks.
Such a group.
Yeah. That's great. Wow, that was fun. That was fun to have Max. That was fun. Well, now it's my turn. Wow. Yay! First, I wanted to thank a few people because it's important to mention, obviously, Max, the publisher, but I also wanted to thank actually Salah and the staff at Lutheran Community Services Northwest by granting me a sabbatical. Last year, I had a sabbatical. I took a sabbatical I was allowed to take, and they granted me the sabbatical to take the time to write this book, which meant that a lot of people had to step into whatever my functions are at Lutheran, and had an additional kind of load of work. And I really appreciate everybody who stepped into helping me actually write the book by giving me the time. I also want to thank Gary, because I don't know if you know that, you really inspired me and helped me go over my edge of writing, because I was never identified as someone who could write. And your abundance in writing and creativity No, really, I mean that in the way most really allowed me to step into your shoes, and we co-wrote the first book we wrote together. That was kind of a step in.
I'm so proud of you for this book.
Thank you. And I want to thank everybody who helped here, and also want to thank Arnie Mindell, who couldn't come tonight. Arnie Mindell is obviously the writer of the initial Green Body book, and I met him, 30 years ago, at a small gathering of friends. A colleague and friend of mine, some of you might know, in my previous career I was a medical doctor, so I was just out of medical school in my residency, and we had a gathering. This Martin Fossler, this friend of mine, invited Arnie Mindell to a private evening. And Martin was also a very social activist, and he still is a very social, political figure. And he had spent the weekend before doing a mail-out, political mail-out. At that time, you couldn't send it everything through the internet. You actually had to mail things. So he had mailed everything, and had, I don't know, hundreds of letters, and put the letters into the envelope. And he developed a little strain injury, repetitive strain injury, which, just by doing the same motion all the time. And Arnie, in this evening, he worked with Martin on this repetitive strain injury. I don't remember what came out because it's too long ago, but what happened is I was there and I was saying, whoa, it was really radical. 30 years ago, there was ideas in medicine about psychosomatic medicine. There was, we thought about psychosomatic medicine, but at that time, psychosomatic medicine meant, if gastric problems, you had an ulcer, meaning you had a lot of stress. That was the extent of psychosomatic medicine. Or sometimes chronic back pain was considered psychosomatic different, but it's very limited conditions. And for someone to come and work with something that is really, you can think is very mechanical. It's clearly a strain, you do a repetitive motion, you strain certain muscles and certain insertions, and work with it, and develop and find something that is meaningful in it. It was really mind-boggling. It was also very playful, and I got hooked. That was really which launched me into this discovery of Green Body work, process work, and learning more about it. And here I am 30 years later. I left Switzerland and I'm teaching here. Without being there, my life would have taken another path. And I'm actually very grateful about having had the experience. So I thought I would read a little passage in my book, and then I would also show you a little bit of, I tried to synthesize the idea of my book in really short words. I came up with an idea how to do that afterwards. But let me start with reading.
We love the cover. I love the cover.
You love the cover? I love it too. Isn't that the design? It has an European feel to it. I don't know, for me. I like it.
Title's great.
Yeah.
You like the title?
What is the title now?
The title is Health in Sickness, Sickness in Health. And that's why I chose the cover of these symmetries from M.C. Escher, which is an Austrian graphic designer, and because it has that symmetry in the text. So let me. Hey, yeah. I'm going to read something about myself that I wrote in the book. And it's interesting. I notice it makes me shy. Thank you. And that's an aspect of working with body symptom. It's actually, it's sensitive. But let me read it anyway. So let me share a personal and somewhat trivial example. For a couple of years now, both of my big toenails have had a fungal infection. This infection is medically irrelevant and doesn't have any serious health consequences. It is mainly a cosmetic problem. Nevertheless, it is significant to me. I, at times, feel embarrassed and try to hide my toes in public when I go to a sauna or enjoy the baths in a hot tub. Why do I hide them? Who looks at my nails with judgment? What do I see that embarrasses me? The big toenails are rougher and discolored. They are not as smooth and lean as the others. They look gross. Why do I care? I know it is medically inconsequential. On the other hand, when I draw an image of how I see my nails on a piece of paper, they look like tree bark with a pattern. They actually have some character. Fungal infections are associated with uncleanliness and lack of hygiene. I'd rather have people see me as clean, gentle, and friendly. What prevents me from showing my character, my roughness? I notice that I also associate this whole process with aging and the body changes that go along with aging. What makes me ashamed of my age and getting older? The further I explore my toenail process, the more meaning it encapsulates. It takes on this dreamlike quality. My tree bark essence is embodied in what some would call a symptom, a fungal infection. The symptom or medical part is only one aspect of the whole dreaming process. Once explored more deeply, the toenails remind me of part of my true or essential nature, which is more like tree bark. The medical treatment of a fungal nail infection is rough too. You either take antibiotic pills for months or surgically excise the nail. Instead, my primary care doctor suggested I try a natural remedy. He recommended I apply tea tree oil locally. Interestingly enough, tea trees are scrubby with rough bark, which matches my process and that part of my essential nature. My nail process covers many aspects, both of an individual and cultural nature. My personal growth and development of more diverse personality with gentle and rough parts, as well as a cultural perception of what is deemed to be normal and healthy looking, and of body changes that come with age and the value we give to age. All these facets are intertwined. My toenail process is local and personal, as well as non-local and public or communal. As we see from the above personal example, body symptoms are embedded in a cultural field that shapes individual experiences. Health and sickness are rooted in a normative field that it gives value and significance to some experiences and marginalizes others. What is considered normal and healthy defines the otherness of abnormal, unhealthy, bad, and wrong. By using the qualifier of healthy, we create the abnormality and sickness in others. In thinking that a healthy toenail should look a certain way, I contribute to the marginalization of all the toenails that look different. Why am I so grossed out by my toenails? Because I instinctively know that at least some people will react with some disdain, which I have internalized. What a difference it would make if we lived in a culture that would react with excitement about the new shape and color of my toenails and help me explore the diversity they express. How relieving it would feel if my doctor would help me uncover the essence they embody in addition to surgically removing or treating them with strong antibiotics. Many diseases and body processes are more consequential and require treatment. What I would like to offer is a conversation about ways we could do that without marginalizing the underlying process and the person affected by the disease. Health is a state that sustains our ability to function and implement what we are here to do, to embody the essential. Paradoxically, health embraces sickness and all the experiences that come with sickness as an aspect of diversity. One main idea I'd like to offer is that nature gives us symptoms to show us our diversity and that our uniqueness is our gift and what Jung meant by essential. I'm referring here to this aspect of Jung's in a citation that Jung says about the essential, that he basically said, that is what we're here for. Anything is less relevant, is really to fulfill and embody what an essential aspect of who we are. By this I mean that one function or symptom is to reveal diversity. Nature's palette of colors, shapes, fragrances, and tonal qualities. Symptoms are in part an expression of our own inner complexity. They expose marginalized dimensions of our personality and identity. Toenails. I should have a picture of that. I will be a little shy. That make me a little shy. Isn't it amazing?
Undercover.
Undercover, yeah, next time. Undercover. So, let me just try to see if someone can help me turn this over. Yeah, because I wrote something on the back, so I wanted to show this a little bit. So, oops. Do you know the myth of Procrustes?
Yes.
Do you know that one? I've told it in class a few times. Procrustes, the myth of is a Greek myth. And Procrustes was a Greek god, and he was also an ogre. An ogre is a mean type of guy. Monena. Ogres are really, I don't know, what do? They eat people or they do sex. Well, Procrustes was not very friendly person either. He had a inn on the way to Athens, and it mean a place where people could stay overnight. And the myth goes this way, that everybody who wanted to go to Athens had to stay overnight at this inn, at Procrustes Inn. And so people would eat there, and he would be friendly, and they would then go to bed. And there was a particularity in this inn that every bed was the same size. All the beds were the same size. That's pretty normal. We all have same size beds, but they all have the same size. And so at night, Procrustes would come, and he would cut off the limbs that would hang over the edge of the bed. Or he would stretch people's legs and arms if they were smaller or shorter than the bed. So he would do that to everybody so that everybody fits a certain way before they were allowed to go further onto their journey towards Athens. Now, how is that meaningful in terms of health? That's the big question. The idea is that we do that every day. We act like Procrustes every single day by trying to adjust ourselves to certain cultural values and norms. We do that because we have to fit. We have to fit into a community. And some aspects of it is really good, but other aspects are maybe more complicated. So when you look at a cultural field, there's a process that we as a community engage in defining what is so-called healthy and so-called normal. And that has to do with kind of the centrality of our cultural community. It's most often people with more centrality, scientists, doctors, who will define and decide for us in general what is defined as healthy and normal. Now, it doesn't work always like this. We get sick. That's also part of it. So, but by having that definition of normality and what is healthy and associated with specific cultural values, moral values, normative values, we actually marginalize every other aspect of our lived experience, which we then call sickness or unhealthy or pathological or a problem or a challenge. So that process, in a way, of differentiation and polarization has good aspects because it raises awareness and it raises our consciousness, but it's also problematic because it puts people who, and your own experience, and with my toenail as an experience, it puts me in a position that I want to hide. I can't really be curious about my own health issues because it's unhealthy, it's pathological, it's not normal, it's not abnormal, it's abnormal. So that process is really something very significant. That's what I call sickness in health, meaning it makes people sick. On the other hand, when you have symptoms, then what we say with the dream body concept is that they, in a way, encapsulate then something that is an answer to this cultural debate. It's an answer to this negotiation of what is healthy and what is sick. It brings out a different quality, a different information, both individually, for me, because I can learn something about myself that I didn't really know until I explored my toenail, that I have actually sometimes, I can be rough. And I have this diversity in me. I should be gentle and friendly, which I am most of the time, but I can be also rough. And there's a different character there. And it allows me to bring that out in the cultural debate and discussion about what is valued about age, what is valued about diversity. So the symptoms are an aspect of our diversity. And it's something that's really meaningful. It's not only a problem, it is a problem too, because some more serious symptoms are associated with a lot of suffering and pain. They can be debilitating, and we need to just treat them. But not only. If we just do that, we miss out on the information of things. And then the last point I want to make, so that's health and sickness, if you saw. So that's health and sickness. And overall, then this all process is embedded in what I call the process mind, or an intentional field that somehow uses this debate and this negotiation and this cultural going back and forth about this issue as something to learn and to grow and to learn about itself. There's an intention that behind all this is that as a community we really learn together what it means to embody diversity and things. So there's an intentional field behind this whole process. This is really what my book is all about. And I invited Carl. He was so gracious to come tonight. And I was thinking that we could have a little bit of a chat together, because I think you have a lot to say about that process. Carl and I know each other, we've known each other for 6-7 years. And we work together.
5.5.
What?
5.5.
Thank you. Well, I was close. 5.5.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want to sit here? So appreciate it.
Yes.
Oh, it works.
Indeed.
Indeed. Great. Yes. So, yeah, and we spoke about it beforehand, so I was thinking we could have just a chat, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe have to answer some questions. Maybe you can say what happened to you, or what you had some health issues that brought you to come and seek support from me. Can you say a little bit about what that
Is it
was?
about my brain injury?
Yes,
All right.
maybe.
I had a bicycle accident and I ended up in the hospital for 3 weeks in a coma
Mhm.
with a traumatic brain injury.
That was a traumatic brain injury. That's an intense experience.
I lived at the hospital for a while and then I lived in inpatient therapy.
You went through a whole rehabilitation process.
I had to learn how to swallow water again.
I had to learn to
speak
swallow.
and walk.
Speak and walk. That's a big thing. That's intense. So you were for 3 weeks, or how long in coma, and then you had to relearn everything. And I asked you to maybe share some of your idea. I don't know, because you recovered quite amazingly. You know, in a very astonishing way for the injury that you had. And but you still have certain issues, challenges. Can you say more what they are?
I think that in the way that those differences between analysis of health
Yes,
leads to
yes,
very disparate ideas about what the right thing to do is. that really informed me to heal myself.
Mhm.
There's a lot of information in that.
How did you, I mean, you mentioned that, how did you experience this whole idea about what is health and what is, how was that for you, coming back into life?
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand. Please say again.
How was that for you, you know, that experience, you mentioned that about being confronted with people's perception about health and through the institution, and what that meant for you when you came and rediscovered.
I think that initially it was debilitating, and I learned it to be sort of an opposite, sort of a negative space that I could use to redefine myself.
Can you say more?
My understanding of my, what's the word? Whatever constraints I was experiencing, physically or mentally,
Right.
that those things became kind of a clear boundary that defined what I could do much more clearly, allowed me to heal and find new ways to do things.
In a way, by being forced to confront a boundary of things you couldn't do, it actually helped you to define certain things that you could do in a different way and even better than before.
That same information could be taken in a completely different way and could leave you feeling pretty poor about what you're at and hopeless.
There's
Yes,
both.
It's the same.
It could make
It's
you.
the same boundary.
How would it make you feel hopeless? Because people,
Because you can't do what you used to do.
because what you can't use, yeah, and you feel the judgment, not only from you but from outside people about what you want to do and what you could do.
Yes. And what I understand that I can do.
Yes, but it has also the other side, and that's actually very touching to hear that you were able to find a way to discover something. I'm not sure if I should say positive.
Oh, please.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
It's caused all sorts of strife in my life, but I'm very grateful that my head got shaken up. In a way,
How come?
because what we're talking about, the fuel that has given me
The fuel that it gave you to
do things.
do things. Do you have an example of something that you?
I played the piano for 25 years before the accident.
You know,
Just in going back and relearning that and reattaching my hand to my brain.
and I'm a little bit of a musician too, and I know you play the saxophone too, and so that was a big part of our work in a way, to re-find and appreciate the new quality in your music.
Yes.
It developed a whole different quality.
Yeah, I didn't heal. I had to remake all the connections in some other way.
You had to remake them in another
Yeah.
way. But it was your music. You really developed that music, that different type of music.
It's a totally new relationship between my body and my ear. There's never been before.
Different relationship between your body and your ear. Wow.
And the brain injury is a really great opportunity to learn in that.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's actually quite touching. Because I imagine, I know from working with you how real the other side is too. I mean, the pain and the hopelessness around it. But for you to be able to have it, it's quite
It wasn't always like that either. I certainly felt the boundaries in a negative way
yes,
for a long time.
for a long time. I do know. Ah, I feel it away, and that's why I asked you actually to come. I do feel, and that's something I don't know if, I think I've told you, that in many ways you've been my teacher. I'm really touched.
It's been really valuable for me to talk these things over with you. You always ask the right questions.
Thank you. I don't know if you remember, there's two things that really struck me with working with you. There's two that you have. I don't know if you remember, we worked a little bit on your childhood memory.
Okay.
And I don't know if your childhood memory was of, I don't know if that's true still, but when we worked, it was of, you grew up in Alaska, and you, as a child, rolling down the tundra in Alaska and doing somersault, and being ecstatic about going down and not hitting any rocks. Do you remember that? Is that still? And I was so amazed about this kind of the symmetry of that experience was actually your injury, because your injury was also one of, you didn't hit. It was a whiplash type of injury with a shearing of the thing. So it somehow was, there was a mirror image.
Yeah. It's kind of a dangerous ride that you really can't get hurt on.
Right.
Although I suppose I could have gotten hurt on my accident, but I didn't hurt my body at all, just brain injury.
Right. That's amazing. And then the other memory I have from my work is what you shared with me, that you loved going up onto the roof and watching over, I don't know, watching over just in the space and looking from the top of the roof. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And how I know that one time that was very meaningful for you too, to be reconnected with that spaciousness of looking into
Yes.
from above. And that was an aspect of your process. I don't know why I did share that, because I felt somehow connected to that. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
Not that I can think.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl, for coming.
Congratulations.
I'm looking at time. It was amazing. Such a big teacher. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for
Maybe
sharing your story.
Yeah.
Maybe
Thank you.
someone want to say something. Any other, maybe just feedback or comment? Yeah. So, I'm going to take another 10 minutes or so to read again from the book, and then we will, if you have questions, and then we'll have some more food. Let me just find the right place in my book. So, here it is from one of the introduction. As individuals, we make health a priority and marginalize sickness. Informed by cultural values of youth, fitness and health, we make disease our enemy. We declare war against sickness and raise medical armies to fight the war and conquer health. There are times when we want to gather all our powers to fight against, for example, invading cancer cells. War and military metaphors might work for some people in certain precarious situations, but they inherently make disease the other, the experience that has to be fought against. This book is both a guide and a manifesto. I want to promote new ideas and a shift of our beliefs about sickness, both personally and collectively. I want to advocate for another type of healthcare reform, one that is not based on changing outer structures, but on reforming our attitudes, beliefs, and ways of relating to our bodies and their challenges. I would like us to step away from marginalizing sickness in ourselves and others, and instead discover the magic that symptoms have. And obviously, there's not always magic, but sometimes. For example, my asthma is a process that I want to control with my inhaler in order to breathe easier and pursue my daily activities. However, it also forces me at times to slow down, turn inward, and connect with my creativity, spirit, and soul. So paradoxically, my asthma symptoms become my guide toward wholeness and help me balance my goal-oriented actions with leisure time and following my inner experiences. To my surprise, when I allow myself to follow the path of my process, my symptoms ease. This new attitude appears to foster my own self-healing capacity. This is what I call health and sickness. Now imagine this is my vision. Now imagine a doctor or therapist who says, drink this tea, take this medicine or supplement, let's do this surgery, and let's find out what that pounding, spasm, irritation, discoloring is all about. Let's find out what your symptoms are teaching us. Can you make a gesture that expresses how your pain feels? Tell me your story, and let's see how your symptom fits into the wholeness of your life. Let's get rid of this nasty itch, and let's play a game in which you can be as irritating as you want. Tell me what you dreamed last night, and let's figure out how your dream figures relate to your illness. Who in your family, co-workers and friends annoys you in the same way your symptom energy bugs you? Let's think together what your symptom wants you to do in the world. I want you to do more physical exercise and understand what is good to not exercise in your life. I recommend you lose some weight and put more weight into that relationship or work situation. Wouldn't that be a beautiful?
Great manifesto.
Beautiful
Yeah.
way to- Yes, I think I want to close with this. I don't know if you have any questions or something. It's kind of radical, don't you think? In some ways it is, in some ways not. Yes.
Peter, do you ever see yourself, thanks.
Do you ever see yourself practicing in an allopathic practice and doing just that again, or
Doing both? You do one. Well, you probably
I
use your
do,
medical.
I actually do,
Yeah.
do both, and, you know, getting back into my medical license would be such an endeavor that I
Yeah.
actually chose not to. And it's hard within, it's easier for me to do that from without,
Right.
I think from within.
Well, what a great contribution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a comment, Isabel. Isabel is a dear friend, she works.
I'm currently within this system,
Yeah,
really
that's
hoping
what it
for
says.
the without to come more to the within mainstream.
What do you do? What
I'm
is
a nurse practitioner.
And teaching as nursing students at the OHSU School of Nursing. And teach there. Any other questions? Yeah.
Our cohort had the privilege of getting taught by Pierre today, and I just want to say that the profound insight that you bring from having been in the mainstream cultural system and having stepped out of it, it's just such a gift. Really has shone some huge lights for me in understanding how important the context is, and the sickness and health and sickness. Yeah, and that's just spending one day with you. So I'm sure the book, after all the work that you put into it, is going to be profound. Yeah, thank you.
I'm really passionate about this. You must have felt it. This has been my passion. That's why it was an amazing process, I must say. It came out so easily. You know, I'm really not identified as a writer, but it came out so easily. It was such an amazing process to be able to do that.
Yeah, do you have thoughts on when illness appears as either an epidemic or in large numbers, or affects a population, or things like that? Do you write about that? Or?
I do write about that also. And I have two examples actually that, one example is related to my history, or the history of my great-grandfather and my grandfather were both medical, they were head of this TB clinic where Marx's father came as a patient. And, you know, TB was all TB treatment. You know, these TB clinics were in the Alps, at high altitude, because there was no cure for TB, and the only cure was really good immune support, healthy eating, exercise, and good air. So all these clinics were Davos, Lausanne, different places in the mountains. And there were what we would call the health resorts that we would have today, the fancy health resorts, and they were open only for the privileged ones. It took quite some money to be able to stay for months, for 6 months or a year, and these people stayed for a very long time. What happened, so that treatment was really only accessible for people with a lot of resources, a lot of money. But what happened then is that during World War I and II in Switzerland, soldiers were forced to live in close encampments, and TB spread through the whole Swiss army. It became a public health issue, much more than it was before. And because of that, it actually led to the creation of structures and systems that we would compare here with Social Security and with resources and support that allowed to give access to people to these treatments who didn't have the means. So suddenly it opened up. It forced things, so contextual processes, things that were things, will influence the direction and the cure, the direction of the development of medicine. And their part. On the other hand, when we work on, I don't know, some of us do these dream body clinics here, and when we work with people on their issues, and I remember I write at the end of the book, there's actually a verbatim transcript of one of the works that we did here with in the middle, and I remember that the work was about a person and a woman working on her headaches, strong headaches, and working really on identifying with her strengths and her power, and how to bring out that power into community issues in the country she's coming from, a country that has a lot of troubles, cultural troubles. So the whole process of these things. And when we then process that as a group, you can see that her individual process was also something about a community process about gender identity, strengths and power, and how to bring out your power as a woman into society. And we had a huge, great group process around this issue of gender identity and strengths and leadership and power in the community. So these factors are really linked. It's part of the whole thing. It's not separate. It's personal, but it's also not personal. I do really think that everything that we experience is also an aspect of what we need to bring back into the community as a group. But that's a group process. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question.
I was thinking more, both great answers, so yes you did, and I was thinking excuse me, more, current issues in the field of aging, let's say, and Alzheimer's, dementia, that's going to be significantly more present in the population. And also I think I read recently, and again, this is a sort of gross generalization with many statistics in front of me, but about the increases in certain kinds of cancer, significant increases, and I'm just curious about when things are sort of affecting large swathes of the population, and diabetes, all these things that we're just starting to, in a way, take for granted. We just assume we'll have one or two friends with cancer or one or two friends with diabetes, and it starts to become normative, and I wonder about that.
This is really an important thing. So for example, when I went to medical school, breast cancer was a deadly disease. And people, when I worked with people, they explained the occurrence of breast cancer. When I talked to women with breast cancer, they would explain it, well, I got hit. I got a bump, or I got hit in my breast. That was kind of a current explanation of things. And it was really deadly. People, that was a very, very serious situation. Many women died of breast cancer. Over time, there's been a huge development in early diagnosis of breast cancers and development of new treatment. The whole perception of breast cancer changed. Now, it's still sometimes very deadly, but in the cultural experience, there's more hope, more than 20 years ago. I'm sure that just the hope that comes has affected the outcome. It's not only the better treatment, it's the change in cultural perceptions about what it means to have breast cancer. Makes a huge difference. I strongly, it's very hard to prove, and how do you do research to make that sense? But I strongly believe that. And it's fascinating. We don't know anything about the body. I don't know if you read that article in the New York Times about the grizzly bears. It's 3 days ago. There was an article about grizzly bears. They study grizzly bears because they hibernate. And their whole physiology changed. So before they hibernate, they eat 50,000 calories a day. Huge amounts. They have to get off. And then they go to sleep. And all their body functions shut down. To the point that kidneys don't function at all anymore and are scarred in a way that you would think if you would see a kidney like that in a human being, that would mean death. For the grizzly bears, it's not death. They wake up in the springtime and their kidney regenerates and recovers from what it looks like a dead kidney. It just does that. There are some ideas about why and how that happens, but nobody really knows. So what seems a rigid, something that's rigid, physiological rigid things, I do think it's much more fluid than we think. Much more fluid. And just one last example, a personal one. Some of you know I had a gallbladder surgery a few years ago. And I had the surgery, came out of the surgery, and my whatever blood levels that they measure to see the result of the things, they didn't go down. Something was still wrong. And so they were getting, the doctors were kind of getting nervous and things, and said, well, we have to do a second surgery. And I said, I'm not so sure yet. Let's wait. So it was night and things, and thankfully I had the help of a good friend who helped me work on a dream that I had had. And I had dreamt of I remember that dream really. I was of a cathedral had a chimney, and there was a lot of steam that came out of the chimney. A lot of steam came out of the chimney. And we worked on that. And I had a little bit of a little conflict with the doctors that were things. So it was in the midst, so I decided to pick up a little bit of my power and let some steam out. And it was 10 o'clock at night, and so I called the resident to say they wanted to change things, they wanted to do certain things and prepare me for the surgery next day, and my infusion got blocked and they wanted to change it and things. And they never came to me to talk to me, they always talked to the nurse first, and then the nurse came to me and I had to talk to them, go talk, so it was always like this triangles. And I told them, I don't care what time of day or night it is, I'm not going to let anybody do anything until the doctor comes to see me and talk to me directly. Which, they didn't like. Poor resident, he has a lot, it's a night shift and there's a lot of things, and that's the least thing that he wants to do to come to, a colleague. And he came to me, and it came at night, it was midnight, and we had a good discussion. And I said, okay, I allowed him to change and everything, I allowed him, but it was important for me to have that direct conversation. oddly enough, after that discussion, suddenly I had to pee. So much, I had to go, all the fluid came out of me. All the things. I had to pee and pee and pee and pee. A lot. Which I didn't know where that water came from. Well, I actually know, because when you have surgery, they really pump you up with a lot of fluid. You know, that they give you a lot of fluids. That fluid was so stuck in me. After the thing got released. And then when they tested me in the morning, my whatever marker they were concerned about was in the normal, and I was released.
Wow. That's great.
It's an experience that you make, you know. There are I have some ideas what physiologically really happened. But you see, what is it? What made what? There's much more than we think. So be hopeful, don't be also hopeful. Well, let's close here.
Thank you, Pierre.
Thank you.
Please have books, buy books. What? Yes, for myself.
And you're going to sign them if they want
I
to
can sign, I'm happy to sign.
I can.
The books are $15. No.